It's a book based on the life of P.T. Barnum. You might have heard from him. And it's written by Joe Vitale. And one of the things that he mentions to first start off the book is that P.T. Barnum doesn't actually get associated with the quote of there's a customer or there's a sucker born every minute, but there's a good chance he might have said to someone, there's a customer born every minute. And the reason for that is everyone who knew P.T. Barnum knew he was a stand-up guy. He was a helpful person. He met with royalty. He met with kings and queens and presidents of the United States. He actually wanted to be nominated to be president of the United States at one point. So P.T. Barnum definitely lived an amazing life, and I just got finished reading his book, so I wanted to give you a summary of things that I learned from the book and how much it inspired me, and hopefully it will inspire you as well to help grow your own business and make it happen. So one of the first things that they mention in the book is be bold with your marketing methods. All right, how can you be creative to go above and beyond to stand out and not just be the typical way of putting yourself out there? And one example he talks about is a guy to help promote the strength of his towels. He hung from a towel while he had a towel attached to a helicopter, and he was basically literally hanging on by a towel as the helicopter was flying across the city. So if that marketing method doesn't get attention, I don't know what does, because that's just a great example of always doing what you can to put yourself out there. Another thing people don't realize about P.T. Barnum is that he actually didn't do circuses until the end of his life. That's when he was about 65 years old, after he had already done a bunch of business endeavors and opportunities, that he wasn't actually a circusman until the end of his life. So I thought that was a super cool fun fact. Another thing is to really utilize celebrity statuses. So one of the things that helped him sell the Fiji mermaid, which I'm sure a lot of you knew was kind of a hoax, is that he talked about how he called, the author mentioned, I'm pretty sure that he called it the Elvis mermaid or something like that, by putting some Elvis clothes on it. So yeah, you could have your typical Fiji mermaid, half person, half fish, or you could have an Elvis mermaid, and that's actually what helped grow the popularity of that object. And it's also another thing he mentioned, it's not how you get the attention, it's how you deliver the results that matter. So one of the things he talks about is he did everything he could to get the attention of people, whether it's putting advertisements on billboards, whether it's getting elephants to plow fields, whether it was getting a random guy on the street to drop bricks on random parts of the street. So everyone was going, what's going on? But then once they actually showed up to see what was happening, P.T. Barnum always over-delivered. Everyone always got their money's worth. Everyone was always satisfied and happy to take part of the experience. So use that in your marketing, advertising methods. That, yes, it's totally okay to get people's attention, but once you get their attention, do what you can to over-deliver to them. Another thing too is people love having fun, and they want to feel good about your product or service. And the classic story of how much of a value and importance that people put on having fun is, I believe in the 1900s, when there was the Depression happening, people sold their fridges before they sold their radios. I'll say that again because of how crazy it is. People sold their fridges before they sold their radios, because they'd rather have fun of tuning in and hearing what's going on in the world, hearing sports games, hearing jokes at comedy hours. And so people put a high price at fun, and every chance you can put fun to your brand, it's always a good sign. Another thing too is a focus on trends and tie your business to it. So the author talks about how he was putting together an influence psychology course, and it just come out that Britney Spears was in a new commercial for something, and he wrote a press release to local advertising, or not advertising, but a local press release to the news saying, hey, here's how Britney Spears used influence and psychology to get your attention in this commercial. And of course, that article blew up, and he had a bunch of people then read it, check out his brand, and then saw that he was putting a course on influence and psychology, and got a bunch of ticket sales to his course, and was able to upsell from that program. So leverage current events, see how you can tie it back to your brand and make it happen. Another thing is always be teaching people things they don't know, always be educating, always be helping others based on what you've learned along the way. And then another thing too is you're only 2 or 3 people away from anyone you want to meet out there, which is so crazy. It's just that no matter who you want to meet, no matter who you want to be associated with, just remind yourself you're only 2 or 3 people away from that person. And if you could think of someone that you want to meet, just make a social media post about it. Ask your friends or family, like, hey, do you know anyone who knows this person? Do you know anyone who knows this person? One of my favorite methods I've seen as an influencer, podcasters named Joe Fear and Matt Wolf. and they have a Dream 50 list that who they want to interview in their podcast that they attach to the bottom of every single one of their emails. And because they attach that list, they've had these incredible, amazing A-list guests to come on their show. So whenever you want to meet someone or connect with someone, ask who knows them, ask to be connected with them, because you never know, it might be someone's cousin's, aunt's, friend, roommate twice removed to be able to connect you. So always have that confidence. Always keep joining and posting groups where your clients are. Always be adding value. Always be making offers. If you're out of sight, you're out of mind, and you're out of business. So do what you can to put yourself out there, put your brand out there, and make it happen. Another thing too, one of the things I liked about P.T. Barnum is it talked about his attitude, and he always had a great attitude about things. And P.T. Barnum mentioned that as long as you're healthy, as long as you're breathing, life goes on. And that's just so powerful to me because, there so many of us can be put flat on our back. We can go through struggle. We can go through pain. But if you just remember, life goes on. Things can always get better. You can always take a new path. You can always change your mind. You can always make a new decision about what story you want to write for yourself, what story you want to tell yourself for the life you want to create. That is definitely important. Just understanding that as long as you're healthy, things can still get better. And then another thing too is people might have great businesses, but they might not always have the best location. And a classic example of that is P.T. Barnum tells a story how he went to London, England, and he came across this amazing museum, and it was so incredible. But the issue is it was a terrible location. It was in a small town of like 300 people. And so while the museum over-delivered in value, it was not a good location. So then P.T. Barnum, being the nice guy, business person that he is, he's like, hey, you have a great museum here. I admire your work ethic. I admire your leadership. I admire your business acumen. But let's put you over in America, and let's see if we can get you some more sales that way. And of course, once P.T. Barnum recognized that opportunity to put this guy in America, his museum exploded and it blew up, and everyone wanted to come attend because it was in the right location. So whenever you think that your business idea or product isn't good enough, it might just be one tweak to recognize. Sometimes it just needs to be put in a better location, have different people exposed to it. Another thing too is P.T. Barnum is a very religious man, and I'm definitely a spiritual person myself. And I believe what he says as well is that do everything you can for yourself and trust in God for the rest. That sometimes you can put in all your effort, all your resources, all your energy towards something, and sometimes there's something that's still out of your control, and all you can do is kind of let God or a spiritual being that you believe in help take care of the rest, just kind of having that faith. Because you can't just have blind faith. You got to be able to get some momentum with it. And the story analogy he talks about as how there's two guys in the desert, and one person says, oh, I'm not going to attach my camel to my tent because God will take care of it. And the other guy goes, on the contrary, I am going to attach my camel to my tent because it's showing I'm doing everything in my power to take care of myself. And then hopefully God will prevent any desert storms or any robbers from taking the camel, but I'm still going to do my part to take care of myself and take charge of my life. So I really like that analogy. Another thing too, when it comes to bringing in potential customers, is ask who are those potential customers and who else wants to reach these same people, and how can you reach those same customers more effectively. So constantly be asking yourself, who are your potential customers? Who else wants to reach these same potential customers? And how can you work with people or work better to reach those customers more effectively? If you keep asking yourself that and answering that for yourself, you can find those solutions, find those answers, and make it happen. So yeah, that's a summary of what I learned from the P.T. Barnum book of a customer born every minute. Something to ask yourself if you want to be a great go-getter like P.T. Barnum is waking up and saying, what would P.T. Barnum do today? Put yourself in that mind space, put yourself in that headspace, and go out and make it happen. So if you found this video helpful, put your favorite piece of advice in the comments. Make sure to like it, share it if you believe this advice could help others. I definitely love the book. I recommend it. Once again, it's called Customer Born Every Minute by Joe Vitale. Definitely make sure